The sleek silver jet of Skylux Airlines stood poised at Gate 23, its polished exterior gleaming under the harsh fluorescent lights of Chicago O'Hare International Airport. It was a crisp autumn morning, the kind where the air carried a hint of frost and the promise of a busy travel day. Inside the first-class cabin, the atmosphere was a blend of quiet anticipation and the subtle hum of luxury. Passengers settled into their oversized leather seats, sipping complimentary mimosas and adjusting their noise-canceling headphones. Skylux was renowned for its opulence, heated towels, champagne service, and seats that reclined into full beds. For those who could afford it, flying first class with Skylux was less about travel and more about an experience, one that came with a price tag exceeding most people's monthly rent. Marcus Richardson, a 42-year-old black man, settled into seat 2A, a window seat he had specifically chosen for its extra legroom. At 6 feet tall, with a lean athletic build, Marcus appreciated the space to stretch out and work during the 4-hour flight to San Francisco. His dark suit was impeccably tailored, his movements deliberate as he opened his tablet to review his keynote presentation for the Global Ethics and Technology Conference. Marcus wasn't just any passenger. He was the founder and CEO of Right Tech Solutions, a $2.8 billion AI company specializing in customer service technology that helped businesses identify and eliminate bias in their interactions. His software was revolutionizing industries, and Skylux Airlines, unbeknownst to its crew, was desperately courting a partnership with his company to modernize its outdated booking systems. Marcus's journey to this moment had been anything but easy. Born and raised in South Chicago, he had taught himself to code at 11 on a second-hand computer, building simple programs while other kids played video games. His father's death at 16 in a senseless act of violence had shaken his world, but it also forged a promise that defined his life, to make people see each other as human beings first. That vow had fueled 2 decades of relentless work, from coding 18 hours a day in a cramped apartment to building a tech empire. Despite his success, Marcus remained humble. Earlier that morning, security cameras had captured him helping an elderly woman with her luggage, holding doors for strangers, and tipping generously at the airport cafe. It wasn't for show, it was who Marcus was. As he adjusted his seatbelt, the first-class cabin began to fill. A woman in her early 50s, Karen Whitfield, entered with an air of entitlement that seemed to precede her. Her platinum blonde hair was perfectly styled, her designer handbag clutched tightly, and her eyes scanned the cabin with the confidence of someone accustomed to getting her way. Karen was a regular Skylux passenger, a platinum member who flew this route weekly and always insisted on seat 2A. To her, it was more than a seat. It was a status symbol, a marker of her importance. Her impatience was palpable as she noticed Marcus occupying her seat. Jessica Miller, a flight attendant with 8 years at Skylux, approached Marcus with a practiced smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Excuse me, sir," she said, her tone polite but laced with condescension. "This seat is reserved for our platinum members. I'm afraid you'll need to move." Marcus looked up, his expression calm but tinged with confusion. He had booked this seat months in advance, paid in full, and checked in early to ensure everything was in order. Reaching into his wallet, he produced his platinum member card, its metallic sheen catching the cabin's soft lighting. "I am a platinum member," he said evenly, "and this is my assigned seat." Jessica's smile tightened, a flicker of surprise crossing her face before being replaced by determination. She glanced back at Karen, who stood in the aisle tapping her designer watch impatiently. "I understand, sir," Jessica replied, her voice clipped. "But this particular seat is typically reserved for a better customer," she gestured toward Karen, "our regular platinum member who flies with us frequently." The implication was clear. Marcus, despite his status, didn't belong in seat 2A. Karen muttered just loud enough for nearby passengers to hear, "I always sit there. It's practically my seat." The words carried a weight that made Marcus pause. He had encountered this before. Situations where his presence was questioned not because of his actions, but because of how he looked. Yet he remained composed, his voice steady. "I'm sorry, but this is my assigned seat," he repeated, showing his boarding pass to Jessica. The interaction was drawing attention. Passengers nearby began to notice, their eyes darting between Marcus, Jessica, and Karen. A few reached for their phones, sensing the tension escalating. Whispers rippled through the cabin, and the atmosphere shifted from luxurious calm to uncomfortable scrutiny. Jessica hesitated, her weight shifting from one foot to the other. She wasn't used to resistance, especially not from someone so calm and self-assured. "Sir," she said, leaning closer, "perhaps you'd be more comfortable in another section." The suggestion wasn't about another first-class seat, it was a thinly veiled nudge to move him out of first class entirely. Marcus's eyes met hers, his expression unwavering. "No, thank you," he said firmly. "I selected this seat specifically for the legroom. I need to work during the flight." Karen, still standing in the aisle, let out an exaggerated sigh. "This is ridiculous," she said, her voice carrying to the surrounding passengers. "I have an important meeting right after landing. I need my usual seat." Jessica nodded curtly and retreated to the front of the cabin, her heels clicking against the floor. Marcus returned to his tablet, but the weight of the moment lingered. Across the aisle, a businesswoman named Sarah discreetly angled her phone, capturing the interaction. She had been watching from the start, her instincts telling her this was more than a simple seating dispute. Moments later, Karen stepped forward, ostensibly to place her bag in the overhead compartment. In a swift, practiced motion, she slipped a folded stack of bills into Jessica's pocket. "I appreciate your help with this situation," Karen whispered, her voice low but audible to those nearby. Jessica's face flushed, but she pocketed the money without a word. The act, caught on Sarah's phone, transformed the situation from a misunderstanding into something far more sinister, a bribe to discriminate. The cabin's atmosphere grew heavier. Trevor, the cabin supervisor, approached with a confident stride, his uniform pristine and his posture rigid. "Sir," he announced, loud enough for all to hear, "we need you to move to accommodate our VIP passenger." His tone left no room for negotiation, framing Marcus's presence as a problem to be solved. Marcus looked up again, his calm unshaken. "I've shown my boarding pass and platinum status," he said. "This is my assigned seat." Trevor's face tightened, a muscle twitching near his jaw. He leaned in, his voice dropping to a condescending whisper that carried in the quiet cabin. "Perhaps you're unfamiliar with how things work on this airline," he said, emphasizing each word as if speaking to a child. "We accommodate worthy customers who have specific preferences." The word "worthy" landed like a slap. Sarah's phone continued to record, capturing every word, every glance. Other passengers were now openly watching, some typing furiously on their devices, others exchanging looks of disbelief. A young man in row 3 shook his head, muttering, "This isn't right." Karen, emboldened by Trevor's intervention, checked her watch dramatically. "I have never been treated this poorly in all my years of flying," she declared, her voice rising for effect. The irony wasn't lost on the other passengers, some of whom shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Trevor leaned closer to Marcus, his voice barely audible but dripping with menace. "Sir, we can do this the easy way, or we can make this difficult. Your choice." The threat hung in the air. Many would have yielded under such pressure, the public confrontation and implicit threat too much to bear. But Marcus wasn't most people. He met Trevor's gaze, his voice steady and resolute. "I'm not moving," he said. "This is my seat." 6 simple words, delivered without anger but with absolute certainty, shifted the dynamic. Trevor's face flushed red, his authority challenged in a way he hadn't anticipated. He straightened, adjusted his tie, and stormed to the front of the cabin, picking up the service phone with agitated gestures. The cabin fell silent, passengers holding their breath, waiting for what would come next. 5 minutes later, the cockpit door opened, and Captain James Reynolds emerged, his weathered face set in a professional mask. His presence signaled that this was no longer a minor dispute, but an official intervention. Jessica trailed behind, her discomfort evident, while Trevor led the way with a smug confidence. Captain Reynolds stopped beside Marcus's seat, towering over him. "Sir," he began, his voice firm but measured, "I understand there's a situation. My crew has the authority to assign seats as needed for the comfort and convenience of all passengers." Marcus looked up at the trio, captain, supervisor, and flight attendant, standing over him in a clear power play. Yet his composure never wavered. "Captain, with all respect," he said, "I have a confirmed seat assignment and platinum status. I selected this seat for the legroom I need to work. There's no policy requiring me to give it up for another passenger's preference." Trevor's lips curled into a smirk. "Sir, if you continue to be uncooperative, we'll have no choice but to remove you from the flight." Marcus's eyebrows raised slightly, the first sign of surprise he'd shown. "Are you threatening to remove me because I won't give up the seat I paid for?" he asked, his voice reflecting disbelief. Before the captain could respond, Karen's voice cut through the tension. "This is ridiculous," she exclaimed, her tone theatrical. "I'm going to miss my connection. This is beyond unacceptable." Captain Reynolds, sensing the situation spiraling, adopted a sterner stance. "This is your final warning," he said. "Move to another seat or we'll call security." Marcus reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out his phone. With deliberate calm, he opened the camera app and began recording. "I want to be clear about what's happening here," he said, his voice steady as he captured the scene. "I'm being threatened with removal because I won't give up my assigned seat to another passenger who wants it." Trevor's face contorted with anger. He reached for Marcus's phone, his composure abandoned. "Recording is not permitted," he snapped, his hand dangerously close to grabbing the device. Marcus pulled the phone back, his voice unwavering. "Actually, there's no federal law prohibiting recording on an aircraft unless it interferes with crew duties. I'm documenting this for my protection." The legal knowledge caught Trevor off guard, and he withdrew his hand, his expression darkening. The cabin was now a stage, every passenger a witness. Sarah's video continued to roll, capturing the escalating drama. A murmur ran through the cabin. An elderly man shook his head, a young woman wiped tears from her eyes, and another passenger announced, "I'm recording this too." The tension was broken by the heavy thud of boots. 2 airport security officers boarded the plane, their presence marking a point of no return. They moved with efficiency, following Trevor's gesturing hand to Marcus's seat. The cabin fell silent, the hum of the aircraft fading into the background. "Sir," the first security officer began, "we've been informed there's a situation requiring your removal from the aircraft." Marcus nodded, his dignity intact. "I'd like to understand the specific airline policy I'm violating," he said, his voice clear. "I'm sitting in my assigned seat with a valid boarding pass and platinum status." The officers exchanged uncomfortable glances. The situation was unraveling, and they sensed they were being used to enforce something unjust. "Sir, you need to gather your belongings and come with us," the second officer said, avoiding Marcus's question. Marcus turned to Captain Reynolds. "Am I being removed for refusing to give my assigned seat to another passenger?" he asked directly. "You're being removed for creating a disturbance," the captain replied, the words sounding hollow even to his own ears. A murmur of dissent rippled through the cabin. "He didn't do anything wrong," called a passenger. "You should get out of the seat. He doesn't even look like he can afford it," sneered another, revealing the undercurrent of prejudice fueling the situation. With quiet dignity, Marcus gathered his belongings, tablet, presentation notes, briefcase, and stood. Karen's smug smile was unmistakable as she watched him being escorted from her seat. "Serves him right," she muttered. "First class should have standards." As Marcus passed Trevor, Karen slipped another folded bill into the supervisor's pocket, whispering, "Thanks for handling that." The act, caught by multiple passengers' phones, sealed the incident's transformation into a public scandal. Marcus walked off the plane, head high, escorted by security. In the jetway, he pulled out his phone and sent a text to his COO, Elise Thompson. I was removed from the plane, but they picked the wrong person to humiliate. He followed with a call. Sarah, it's Marcus. I need you to assemble the legal team immediately. I've just been removed from a Skylux flight in what appears to be a textbook case of discriminatory treatment. The security officers lingered nearby, their initial certainty fading. One reviewed the incident report on his tablet, his expression growing troubled. "Sir," he said hesitantly, "I believe there may have been a misunderstanding. The report says you were disruptive, but witness statements don't corroborate that." "There was indeed a misunderstanding," Marcus replied, "but not on my part. I was sitting in my assigned seat when I was asked to move to accommodate another passenger's preference. When I declined, I was forcibly removed." The officer shifted uncomfortably, then retreated with his partner, leaving Marcus in the airport lounge. A young woman approached, clutching her phone. It was Sarah, the passenger who had recorded the incident. "I followed you off the plane because I couldn't just sit there," she said, her voice trembling with indignation. "I recorded everything, from the moment the flight attendant approached you to when they forced you off. This was clearly discrimination." Marcus's expression softened. "Thank you," he said, exchanging contact information. "This may be very helpful." Back on the plane, Karen settled into seat 2A, sipping her complimentary champagne with a satisfied smile. Jessica delivered the glass with deference, whispering, "I'm so sorry for the disruption, Miss Whitfield. We want to ensure your flight is perfect." In the galley, Trevor counted the $200 Karen had given him, murmuring, "Nice bonus today. Some passengers know how to show appreciation." Neither realized their actions had been recorded, nor that the man they had humiliated was about to change their world. The video Sarah sent to Marcus was uploaded to social media, and within hours it went viral. The hashtag #SkyluxDiscrimination began trending, and the footage showing Jessica's condescension, Trevor's threats, the captain's weak justifications, and Karen's bribes reached 2 million views. At Skylux's headquarters, CEO Richard Williams was reviewing quarterly projections when his phone rang. "Sir, we have a serious situation," the PR director said, her voice edged with panic. "A video is going viral showing one of our passengers being removed from a flight this morning." Williams sighed, initially dismissive. "Passengers get removed for disruptive behavior every day, Janet. Handle it with the usual statement." "This is different," she insisted. "The passenger was a black man in first class who refused to give up his assigned seat to a white woman. The video shows our staff accepting cash from her before and after his removal." Williams's face paled as he watched the footage. The clear discrimination, the money changing hands, and Marcus's dignified composure spelled disaster. "Who is he?" he demanded. "According to the manifest, his name is Marcus Richardson." Williams froze. "Did you say Marcus Richardson?" "Yes, sir. Does that name mean something?" Williams collapsed into his chair. "Marcus Richardson is the CEO of Right Tech Solutions, the company we've been courting for a $50 million partnership. The same company that's been buying our stock for 2 years. Miles away, in a private airport lounge, Marcus sat with his team, COO Elise Thompson, legal counsel and communications director. Laptops were open, phones buzzing with activity. "The video has reached 5 million views," the communications director reported. "Major news outlets are picking it up. Celebrities are amplifying it." Elise met Marcus's gaze. "They don't know we were evaluating their company culture for the partnership," she said. "They just showed us their authentic selves." At Skylux headquarters, the boardroom was a scene of controlled chaos. Board members, some in golf attire, others rushed from family events, gathered for an emergency meeting. The video played on a massive screen, its damning clarity silencing the room. When Marcus entered, the effect was electric. Conversations ceased, heads turned. He wore the same suit from the plane, a reminder of the day's events. Williams stood, his voice strained. "Mr. Richardson, I extend our deepest apologies for the inexcusable incident this morning. Marcus cut him off. I'm not interested in apologies. As your largest individual shareholder, I have one demand and one decision. First, every staff member involved is terminated immediately. Second, I'm cancelling the proposed contract between RightTech and Skylux. Williams glanced at the board, panic in his eyes. While we understand your frustration, perhaps suspensions. This isn't negotiable, Marcus said, his hands flat on the table. It's accountability, or I pull my investment and the $50 million contract. A financial analyst burst in, breathless. Sir, our stock is down 12% and falling. Analysts predict a 30% drop by closing if we don't act. Williams looked at Marcus, the reality sinking in. The man they had removed from seat 2A held the airline's fate in his hands. 3 floors below, Trevor, Jessica, and Captain Reynolds sat in a sterile conference room, summoned without explanation. The HR director entered with legal counsel and security officers. Your employment with Skylux is terminated effective immediately, she said, placing folders on the table. Jessica gasped. Trevor's face contorted and Reynolds closed his eyes. We were following procedure, Trevor protested. The HR director played the viral video, showing their actions in stark clarity. Was accepting money to discriminate procedure? She asked. The room fell silent. As they were escorted out, the trio faced the humiliation Marcus had endured. Meanwhile, in Skylux's main auditorium, Williams and Marcus addressed hundreds of employees. Today, Skylux failed a passenger, Williams said. This wasn't an isolated incident. It's symptomatic of systemic issues we must address. Marcus stepped forward. Every employee will undergo comprehensive bias training developed by RightTech Solutions. This isn't about punishment. It's about transforming your culture. Williams announced a 48-hour company-wide grounding for training, a move costing millions but signaling commitment to change. Employees listened, some resistant, others relieved, all recognizing the shift in their company's identity. Over the next 6 months, Skylux transformed. Training centers replaced conference rooms, and every employee, from baggage handlers to executives, participated in immersive bias training. Marcus addressed sessions personally, sharing his experience and challenging employees to confront their biases. 6 months later, Marcus launched the Second Chance program through his foundation, offering rehabilitation and employment paths for those who had lost jobs due to bias incidents. Among the first participants were Trevor, Jessica, and Reynolds. The program was grueling, forcing them to confront their actions and their impact. Trevor admitted to inherited biases, Jessica learned the importance of moral courage, and Reynolds found purpose teaching in the program. Jessica secured a ground crew job, Trevor started in baggage handling, and Reynolds mentored others, their certificates signaling growth, not absolution. Skylux emerged as an industry leader in customer satisfaction, with equal treatment across demographics. In a private meeting, Marcus reviewed progress with Williams. You've shown real change, Marcus said. That deserves recognition. This hasn't been easy, Williams admitted, but it's been necessary. What happened to you forced us to confront what we'd ignored. That's how change happens, Marcus replied. Not through comfort, but through confrontation. Trevor, Jessica, and Reynolds faced the consequences of their actions. Rejection emails piled up as their reputations, tied to the viral video, made hiring impossible. Karen Whitfield, banned from Skylux, was placed on leave by her company, her social circle shrinking as Airline Karen became her public identity. Passenger feedback reflected the changes. The crew seems more attentive to everyone, one flyer noted. They handled my seat issue professionally, said another. Skylux's stock recovered as Marcus reinstated his investment, verified by independent auditors. Skylux's transformation set a new industry standard. Other airlines adopted similar training, and Marcus's Second Chance program expanded, offering hope to those willing to change. The airline that had once humiliated Marcus became a beacon of progress, proving that justice isn't just about punishment. It's about creating a path forward where everyone is seen as human first. As Marcus boarded a Skylux flight a year later, he took seat 2A, his tablet open to a new presentation. The crew greeted him with genuine warmth and passengers nodded in recognition. The skies were different now, and so was the world below. If you liked this story, please like, subscribe, and share it with others so they can learn something from it too.